and keep it.
We'll see how we feel. All right, Brian, we're recording. So we've been having a little chat and then we decided to record. So
Yeah. Well, we decided in the beginning that this was just for us, and we would record in case anyone wanted to listen. I don't know. There are not a lot of people who are checking in. There are some. That's, although that plays right into the discussion you and I were having just before we decided to record is, who are we and what are we doing?
right.
And what's the impact of COVID too on all of us? You said that you've been getting a lot of people calling you with high anxiety, primarily because of this program. What was it called?
Squid Games.
Squid Games, which you've encouraged me not to watch.
Don't watch it. I haven't watched it, but just based on what I've had to deal with in terms of people calling me, I don't know why anybody would watch the show.
Yeah. Well, it's for the same reason. Why do people go to boxing matches?
Well, that MMA thing.
Right. I can't say that I've not watched myself. I love the Hunger Games. I love challenge. I love shows where there's a bad guy and a
The
good guy,
and
they've right. But to consciously turn on a program that upsets your sense of what is normal and what is acceptable.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us want to be shocked.
Do you think that makes us feel alive?
I do. I think sometimes people do things just to make them feel alive. And the problem is that we get used to it. We get used to graphic violence, and so what's next? What's beat that?
Yeah.
Beat that car chase. Beat that sense. Beat it, because we're ready for more. And when you take a look at the programs we all watched when we were growing up, there was nothing like what we have access to now.
I mean, I was just thinking, I've been, in exploring that question, who am I, which we were talking about, we're both kind of at that stage where we're just like, like, who am I? Like, is this the best it's going to be? And should I be now working on quietening that need for more to be greater? So I've been really trying to understand where that's coming from. And if that is ego, or if that's my heart saying, hey, why are you limiting yourself? Like, break through this. We want you to be great. Your destiny is to be great, is to continue getting great things. So one of the things that I listen to and have really attached is the right word there, over the last probably week at least, is Alan Watts, and listening to his recordings. And he has this wonderful recording that is so incredibly powerful, where he explains that we are the original force of the universe. Like, each one of us is the universe. There is no separation of the universes out there. It's like, boom, it's you. So I've been working with that concept of, I am the universe, therefore I am a creator of the universes. So this need to be more, to be significant, comes with the whole concept of, my goodness, you're a universe. Can you?
Well, what is it?
How
does that change things for you? How does it?
It's changed things because now I'm starting to really be conscious of the word diminishing myself, and also not separating myself. And it's changing the way that I'm viewing my mantras, my prayers, and really changing my relationship with God.
In what way? Because I recommended to you before we started, I'm watching a Netflix program called Midnight Mass.
Right.
It's all about faith and whether one believes or doesn't believe. And So how is this changing your relationship with God?
Rather than being below God,
Uh-huh.
I'm next to God.
Next to.
Mm-hmm. Like seeing God as something unattainable and also an obligatory relationship is changing. And I was, writing down, I'm kind of in the midst of trying to organize thoughts and turn this into some kind of writing. And I was thinking about, I don't know if these are my thoughts or if God is talking to me too. So I was, part of this is like, all right, if I am the universe, which I'm now starting to believe that indeed my body and how this body ticks and the soul, the Holy Spirit in it is a universe within a universe. It doesn't mean that I am the universe. I am a universe within a universe. And I see everybody else that way too. I see that you, Brian, are a universe called Brian. So when I look at God, I see that God created me to, be like him. He created me in love. He didn't create me to be a sort of below him, sort of worshiping him sort of relationship, deity sort of relationship. Mm-hmm. He created me to be as excited and adventurous as he is about the universe that he created. So why aren't I doing that? Why am I sitting here going, that's only for God? Mm-hmm. And I was...
Go ahead. I was just going to say that, I've been thinking a lot about the whole God issue myself. And I think age changes perspective too, as you head towards what is the last chapter of your life. I know that I'm surrounded by people who, I don't mean Ray, but there are people who have no belief, that when you die, that's it. Mm-hmm. And I decided that one of the things that I most like about believing in God is that there's always there's always a presence in the room with me, wherever I am, in the garden, in the shower, and I'm always, something's always listening to me. I can talk, I can share observations, and I can express gratitude. Mm-hmm. So there's a place for me to give it. If I didn't know where to put my gratitude, who do I thank, for this glorious moon? What do I thank for this incredible experience of color? So I think I do. I love being able to say, thank you. This is great. Thank you for having Ray in my life. Thank you for that. And some people would say, well, do you thank God for the shooting in the school, this week? If you only thank God for good stuff? People who say there isn't a God will often say, look, if there is, why do people suffer so? I don't have the answer to that. I know that when I suffer, I don't take it personally. Mm-mm.
And I think suffering is beautiful too.
Well, it can be, when you're in the midst of it, it doesn't feel
you're in the
so
midst of it, it sucks. Yeah. But, when you start coming out of that and you start taking in the lessons and taking in the learnings, it turns into beauty. And I think everybody's definition of beauty is a little bit different, but it comes into that range of, gratitude where it's just like, my goodness, like all of this is beautiful. All of this is benevolent. We might be getting we in terms of humanity might be getting a little sidetracked, or some of us might be in lessons that we can't truly comprehend. It doesn't make life any less beautiful, and it doesn't diminish us, just like it doesn't diminish God. And I think if one of my mantras for last year and this year is don't be the contradiction. So if I'm going to thank God for everything that is beautiful around me, I'm also going to thank God for everything that does not seem beautiful to me. Because I don't know yet what beauty is going to come of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it's been a very interesting 2 weeks, but I think if you look at the school shootings, did God step out and be like, I'm just going to let that happen? No, I think God was absolutely there. I think he and all of his angels and were with those people, whether they got out okay or they didn't get out okay. I think they were with the shooter. I think they're absolutely there. And I think that they continue to be there as this, wave of healing and love is infused, because after every tragic and destructive event, the wave of love that follows immediately afterwards is profound.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain that?
Well, I believe that despite all of our differences, and some of them, just are horribly manifested and expressed, that we're basically good people. You take, even a terrorist, which is a label. Some they would see themselves not as terrorists, but as revolutionaries, people willing to die. But, go back to their home and see them as parent, right? Loving their children. There's a goodness, basic goodness that we human beings have and can express, a kindness, a thought, an empathy that's available to us. And so when you talk about the flow of love that comes after these events, that for a lot of it is the empathetic soul that's reaching out and feeling the pain and wanting to stop it for whoever else is experiencing it. That's so often what I'm wanting to do is take care of the victims, to say, and also the perpetrators, to say what happened to you, what is this about? Because it's not just random. Were you bullied? Are you watching shrimp, whatever? Are you
Squid Games?
Yeah.
I think, and I think it's, I used to have a very tumultuous relationship with God, where I hated God. I still acknowledge that there was a God, but I was very angry with God. And it was so obvious that if, I went very early on in my life, I've been attracted to esoteric sort of teachings, and whether it be a Vedic or tarot, whatever it is, I've always been like, hey, what information do you have? And they would all be, you need to heal your relationship with God. And I was just like, no, you got it wrong. And my anger with God was around the suffering. Like, if you love me or if you love humanity, how can you let this happen? And so I sat with that and asked God to show me that. And the words that really ring true there for me are, every truth is but half a truth.
What does that mean?
Each person has their own truth.
Uh-huh.
So if we're looking to understand where God is and why do these events happen, we need to look at all of the truths. We need to understand how it actually happened. When we look back at all of these school shootings, the people that wielded the guns, they didn't do this because they were from a place of love. They did it from a place of being bullied, of being afraid. They came from places where other humans had hurt them.
And they didn't feel they had a future.
Sorry?
They didn't feel they had a future.
They didn't.
I think so much of it, your willingness to go, take a gun to work or take a gun to school, I think is about it's hopelessness.
Yeah. I don't think it excuses it. I always think that there's definitely better ways to deal with it than going and harming another human regardless of the circumstances, but it does let me chill out on God a little bit and be like, all right, I can understand how this happened. Now help me understand, why somebody would go that extra step and take a gun. And then it's like, well, look at the media. Look at all of the programs that we deal with today. Look at the access of weapons that we have today. Look how we idolize people in the military, where their job is to kill other people.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we sitting back going, I don't know how this happens, when we're basically saying this is the best way to deal with it? Just eradicate it out of your life.
Yeah, I'd argue, the Tao Te Ching says the worst thing is to have an enemy. We should not make enemies of other people. I would argue that people in the military are often in positions of peacekeepers. They're there to protect those who are weaker and, that are being victimized. So sometimes being in the military is not necessarily about killing other people. Some people join the military because they don't have any options. It's the only way they're going to get an education.
And money.
Right. If I want to become a pilot, if I want a future, I need to have school paid for, and the military will pay for my school. They'll pay for my health, with veterans benefits. It's not a job that, without perks. Understanding why somebody does what they do, why they join what they join, is really important. And we don't have, we don't have the time to ask all the questions, right?
Mm-mm.
Because as soon as you start to focus on, let's say, a school shooting, then the news comes on about, that we're going to default on our budget and the Republicans won't support. And so suddenly you leave the school, and now you're wondering about, why are the Republicans acting like this? What hold does Trump have over them? What's going on? Where's God in all of this? Where's God in Trump? Where's God in this? Are we going to become Nazis? So you focus on that, and then something else why won't those people get vaccinated? Are they just being difficult? So we hardly have a moment to empathize when our attention gets pulled to the next and the next and the next, and it's overwhelming. Our great grandparents, they didn't have access to all this news.
No.
Sometimes it took a month for a report to come from an earthquake in Palestine, so they didn't have to process as much information about so many things happening. We get it 24/7, right?
We do. And I think it raises the question, whose responsibility is it to take a step back and have the time to process who am I and what's going on around me?
Well, and sometimes, we who sit, I had a situation this week where I went to Fresh Market, and it was tight space between the cars, and I opened my car door and it touched the car next to me. I got out, I looked, nothing, and I just hear this horn honking and this yelling, are you going to just walk away? And I thought, I wonder who that's about. And suddenly this woman jumps out of the driver's seat of the car and said, you were just going to walk away. You didn't even look to see if there was any damage. I said, yes, I did. You need to be more careful. You need to be more careful. And she kept saying this over and over again. You don't care. You were about to walk away. And all I could think to say was peace. I couldn't think of what else to say except peace. Namaste. and she'd have none of that. No, she don't want any of that. She was ready to rip. And so I stood there as she started to drive off, and she stopped, had more to say. And when it was all over, I didn't feel great about how I had handled it. What I wished I had said was, you're right. I do need to be more careful. I'm sorry. I did check. There is no damage. You want to look at it just to make sure. If there is, I'll pay for it. But I found myself on the defensive, not even understanding where this was all coming from. And so you ask the question, who's supposed to respond to all this? Well, first, we're supposed to respond to it as best we can when it comes up in our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
I handle most situations, I think, really well. I model good behavior with people, but sometimes I get caught. And in those moments, Hayley, we wonder, why would anyone grab a gun and go? I think we're all capable of every behavior that we've seen. We can judge them and shake our finger, but everything that upsets us or horrifies us, we're capable of under certain circumstances.
I 100% agree with you. And I think that is compassion.
Yeah.
That's the root of compassion, to be able to sit there and be like, if I take into context and take all of the information on all of the truths,
mm-hmm.
I can see how somebody could be pushed to that.
Yeah.
It's not what I hope that in that situation, I would try and find myself still, try and be who I am.
Right.
But, I think we've both been in circumstances on one end of that spectrum where people would not understand our space and our mental space. And I think it's, that lens both ways. It's just the compassion to be able to, as you say, have that open mind, that open heart to be like, I get it. I just want to make sure I don't behave like that. I want to do the best I can so that if I'm ever pushed, I don't get there. And also I'm going to, do what I can so I'm not in situations where I'm pushed to that level.
And if I am pushed, that I have already surrounded myself with good people,
yeah,
who can influence the decisions that I make. Right. So part of the spiritual practice is to find the company of others.
Such a great point.
Yeah, who are vibrating, at our level, so that when we start to vibrate at a lower level, we at least have witness to what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we know who to call if we pick up the phone. Because a lot of people don't pick up the phone.
They don't pick up the phone.
They know, and their friends say, well, why didn't you call? Oh, I didn't want to bother you. Well, a lot of it is because I don't want to admit that I needed help.
Right.
And if we do a spiritual practice, every day I read the prayer of St. Francis, but I have to tell you that not every day I pay attention to it. I can just read it and not even remember what I've read. And I think, okay, stop. Just even read one of the things that you want to do and focus on that, because our spiritual practice helps us respond better. My ability to even say peace to the woman, to say, come on, let's find a moment of peace here, was influenced by, my spiritual practice, rather than calling her names, like Karen.
Feel so bad for Karens. And the male equivalent of that is Glenn.
Glenn? I haven't heard.
Yeah.
I said, just don't let it be Brian.
It's, I think along with I feel like I've been in sort of a university since middle of September. So it has been asking that question, who am I? But along with that has been really sitting with the power of the word. And what you're saying there is being able to be honest. And we've spoken about like opening your heart and your mind and to have compassion, to understand all sides of the truth, which is the power of the word. But then it comes back on us to actually be the power of our words. Our words are empty if we're not behaving that way. And I think you give a wonderful example of your experience where you speak of peace, you were put in this crazy situation, and still you still were peace.
Right. I think I was using peace though as a cudgel rather than, I was saying I'm peaceful, you're not, really,
Right.
rather than saying shut
Shut the front door.
yeah. Get out of here before I tape record your behavior and put it on social media to shame you for the rest of your life.
And I think, we were talking about, that relationship with God. And I think a lot of the time our relationship with God is around obligation, guilt, shame.
Yes, that you're waiting for me to do the good thing.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. And I only will get your love if I keep doing the right thing.
Right.
If I don't, then you're going to banish me to hell.
Or you're going to move on, and I'm not going to have the same relationship with you I once did.
I'm going to be forsaken.
So Hayley, when you are questioning, who am I? Do you do that by yourself, or do you ask trusted friends to say, who do you see? Who am I? Tell me what you see in me.
Yeah, I start first with my questioning, and I, sit a lot in meditation and question God and question my guides and get whatever information I can from there. And once I've sort of got this like cauldron of just boiling questions and, like marinating, then I reach out and start talking about it with a few people like yourself, a few other friends, where we'll have these wonderful discussions about what it means to each of us. And I think in that, every time I have those discussions, I'm always elevated afterwards.
Yes.
What I thought was solid ground before I entered the conversation, afterwards, I'm like, that needs clarity. I need to work on that.
Yeah. And that's what we can do when we're our best.
Yeah.
We speak for angels, or the angel within us takes command.
God within us.
Yes. And God and angel basically is the same thing, right? It's all divinity. It's all the whole thing. God is the whole. It's all living. If we, even if you don't believe in a personal God, even if you don't believe that, your consciousness continues, which who has the answer to any of that? You can believe that there is a higher order than you're aware of, right? That there's a relationship that we have to all living things. And some people will then say, well, that's God, that the common denominator that is in all things is what God is.
Yeah.
It's what links us to the oak tree,
one truth,
the grizzly bear, and the one truth, right? The reason I ask about, I didn't ask this question of friends recently. We had a couple of guys over playing cards, but I wanted to say to them, would you have seen Ray and me together? Knowing us, are we a couple that you would have predicted? Do you see us? Because sometimes I'll think, how did we get together? I mean, and it was so easy. I mean, the years, just 45 years have flown by. Not that there haven't been struggles and euphoric moments, but it's flown by. And as you're approaching, the last exit on the freeway, you ask some questions sometimes, like, what would my life have been like with somebody else or alone? You know, what if I hadn't gone to Boston and been Ray's roommate? What if I had stayed in Detroit? What would have happened? What would my life have been? Well, there's no
Wow.
answering. How do you, and why ask the question?
Well, and I think a lot of the time I ask why. Why did this person, like, why did we collide?
Right.
Because I do think everything has a meaning, regardless of how brief or how long it is.
Uh-huh.
So I get on that question of like, why? Why? So do you think yourself, when you ask that question and you ask yourself that question, are you surprised that you and Ray got together? And are you surprised that you've been together this long?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised we got together because we both we're a lot alike in our values. And I was very attracted to his kindness. You know, I liked that. He fit my concept of God and divine and love, and it was easy to love him. It wasn't difficult.
Mm.
It was challenging at times. You know, every relationship has real challenges. I mean, we've had moments where we said, this is it, you know, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. We've had lots of those. I don't think I'm not any more than other people, and we've never separated. And we've always, you know, figured it out you know, a day or two later, what's going on. But no, I feel really lucky to have had Ray. But I also know that there are many aspects of living that I've not done, not necessarily that I should have done. For instance, I don't really identify with the traditional gay male community. You know, I've not ever really. I love sex. I've enjoyed sex. But I never threw myself into sex. I never saw myself really as a sexual being. I never cultivated a sexual air. I didn't cultivate a look or a walk I didn't encourage it in myself. My mind was elsewhere. And so sometimes at age 73, I'll think, well, what would your life have been like, you know, if you had, you know, memories of 100 sexual experiences?
I mean, would you I love that we're talking about this. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we've only got 15 minutes, so we're gonna have to make it super quick. And it's one of the things I'm most grateful for you. I mean, there's so many things, but this is one of the most grateful, is being able to explore sexuality and bringing in people like Bill Stanton to, you know, really blow my mind with what sexuality is. And I have had a wonderful, interesting, painful habit of attracting narcissists, but also men that we would consider playboys. And I thought I had cleared that pattern, but it turns out I hadn't. So I had one more test where it was like, what are you going to do here? And I saw it immediately, and it just always interests me. So you raised the question there. If you have like 1,000 partners, because I think that's where a lot of people are up to now, do you remember them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much of that do you remember, or do you just remember last week or last month?
Or do you look at the score? You know, how many?
Are you still keeping track at that point?
Right.
Um,
Well, I think what happens is that you question before you die, you know, what didn't I do in life? Because if this is my only chance, what didn't I do that others did? Give you an example, I've never taken LSD. You know, I've never had a hallucinogenic drug besides marijuana. That's the
right, I'm
strongest.
with you on that. I've only done marijuana.
Well, I'm kind of jealous of people who have had mind altering experiences from mushrooms or LSD. Huh?
There's still time.
There is. There isn't time for me to become a hustler.
I mean, hey.
I'd have to go to a block, stand on a corner that was frequented by people who like gray hair. You know?
I mean, I think you're selling yourself short there.
Well, maybe, but I'm in a relationship, and such behavior, unless it brought in a lot of money, would not be welcome.
Opportunities exist.
And it would take time away from the garden. You know, we make choices constantly about how to spend our time. We do. And you can't do everything. You know, you can't.
And I think it comes back to, you know, let me just do the best I can right now.
With what interests me right now.
What is important to me, and being able to have a practice, to be able to take a moment of silence and be, what is important to me today? Right now, what's important to me? And try to live that throughout the day. And I think, you know, one of the things that is profound about your and Ray's day is how you read the Tao Ching every morning and allow that to be sort of a guiding influence for the day. And I think that's so important for all of us to have those little bells where we're just like, not entirely sure we can do everything, but you can either spend your time thinking about all the things you could be doing, or you could just actually live right now.
Right.
And make the most of it.
Okay, so saying that, going back to your playboys and narcissists, what conclusion are you drawing for yourself? You're a beautiful one. You have years and years, hopefully, ahead of you of good health. How important is sex to you, and how important is having a partner to you?
Equally huge, massively huge. A lot of what, you know, is me understanding, you know, taking responsibility for the energy that I'm putting out, and also taking responsibility for who am I. And if I'm attracting narcissists and playboys, I need to look at where in me do I consider that love. So I, again, sit with these things. I go and get help from certain people and help me understand this. So when I look at the narcissism, I was raised in a narcissistic household. So to me, that's love.
Oh.
So I'm going to gravitate to people that show that kind of love, even though it's not love that I want. Subconsciously, that's comfort. So my work there is to be like, whoa, no, that's actually not what I want. That's not how I want to feel. I want better. With playboys, you know, part of there is I want to be the one that they choose. I want to be, you know, it's completely egotistical. I want to be the one that they're like, you changed my life.
Yeah, but so, yeah.
Okay. I need to work on that and be like, you can't heal everybody. You can't be it for everybody. And I think my takeaway there is stay strong in who you are. I don't know if you know this term, love bombing. No. Love bombing is what a lot of these playboys, playgirls, like short-term relationship people, flinging people use. So one of their tools is called love bombing, which they go in and tell somebody that, oh my God, you're the best thing ever. I've been waiting for you. Like, I used to be this way, but I'm ready to slow down and change. And I think you're the one. That's love bombing. And it comes on immediately, like within the first 5 days of meeting this person, they're like, you're it, and I want to change my life to be with you and all this kind of stuff, which is confusing because all of us want the fairy tale. But we also need to be really strong in terms of how does this feel? With what I have found with my specific energy is that because I focus on my energy and I focus on understanding my Kundalini and my creation energy, that can be confused by certain people as sexual energy. So they're picking up immediately when I ask the question, why am I attracting these people? Part of it is me in terms of I'm actually attracting them because I get a kick out of saving people. But it's also because there's that confusion in energy. Even though I'm being really pure in my intention, like I want to get to know you, like see me for the person that I am, the wholeness that I am. They're only seeing the sexual side of that because they're confusing my energy, which is life force energy, with sexual energy. And they've become like accustomed and very much addicted to the escapism of that energy, which they believe is sexual energy, the comfort that comes from sexual energy.
It's also the comfort, I think, that comes from being with a confident person, right? If you're going to jump on a train, you want the one that's going to go the fastest to your destination.
Right.
And so I think people are going to be attracted, I think a lot of people are going to be attracted to your strength, your sense of identity, the confidence that you have in your perception of truth in the world. And that's attractive to people. It could be intimidating. And one way people might lessen the tension for themselves is to make it sexual. And allow them to be in a dominant role.
Yep.
Right. So I think it'd be really interesting to know who's the lucky person that you're looking for. What is it that you're looking for in a partner? Because really is a partnership.
It is a partnership, and I do view it that way. Like I don't, when I set my intentions, I'm not looking for love. I'm looking for my partner. I'm looking for somebody that is my equal, like can stand beside me, not in front of me, not behind me, but stand with me. And I think, honesty, the power of word is one of the most important things there.
Word?
Yeah, the power of their word.
Oh, their word, Yeah, you can't partner with anyone who doesn't share your values.
True.
And you can't partner with anyone who does not respect the work you're doing.
True.
Oh, that's Hayley's little thing. She's got these little FaceTime things with people. They pay her good, so that I'm not going to complain, but it's all,
it's just a bunch of woo-hoo.
Touchy-feely, granola.
Yeah.
You have to have somebody who really respects it. Even if they themselves don't share the exact same beliefs, there's somebody who really respects you and the work that you do, and doesn't try to compete with that.
Yeah. And I think part of that, though, is, I want somebody that's going to be like passionate, like be able to not be afraid of that sexual energy and not want to manipulate it.
Right. And first of all, you eliminate all gay men. So,
I mean, pretty much 90% of the men. And I mean, women too. I mean, I don't think, we spoke about this with Bill. We don't understand the difference between sexual energy and life force energy. It's just so mingled and we don't understand it. So I think it is a tall ask. I'm not asking for somebody to perfectly understand it, but at least be open to understanding, what does sexuality mean? What does sexual mean? It's a journey.
It is, and it has multiple. I mean, you don't have to wait until you find the right person for you to enjoy.
There's no when here.
Yeah.
When I understand it, then you can come in.
Yeah, and right, but self-pleasuring is an important part too.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that means that you have to have an orgasm daily in order to be a happy sexual person, but being kind to your body being, and I'm not talking about drinking a shake for breakfast. I'm talking about just thanking your body, loving your genitals, not being afraid to touch, not being afraid to pleasure, not being afraid to be attracted to people on television, or that's all great as long as you make the right choices.
What
Right?
do the right choices mean?
Well, the choices that reflect your values.
Reflect your values. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of out of time, but that goes a full circle to, the relationship with God.
Right.
If I'm open to understanding that God created me in likeness of him, then this body is in likeness of God. Like I can't sit here and say there's a part of this body that is forbidden or dirty or doesn't deserve love. And I can't be the contradiction if I'm saying love your feelings and all of your feelings are great, but don't explore your body, don't explore your sexuality. I think, every part of this is meant to be explored. It's just exploring it with presence and with awareness of your impact on others.
And one of the things that helps me on the spiritual sexual path, Hayley, and I know we're out of time, so I'll stop, but seeing all of the people that you admire, from Jesus and Buddha and Thich Nhat Hanh and Mahatma Gandhi and the people whose books you're reading, to see them as sexual people, sexual beings, that they had sexual thoughts and they ejaculated and they, had erections.
Do it.
Huh?
I think we all do it. Like we all poop. We all have sexual thoughts.
Yeah.
We all have creation energy.
Right. Yeah, we're fully human.
We're fully human.
Fully human.
And I think
all right,
those like underlying, truths is, okay, that common denominator, God. And by the way, there are a few other common denominators too. We all have, bony skeletons from a human perspective. We all have skin as an exoskeleton. Like, these are truths, people.
And it helps for me, and I know again, right, but it really helps me on my spiritual path to feel my skeleton.
Yeah.
I do. I feel, okay, this is, after I die, this is what they're going to see, unless they burn me up. This is my jaw, right? And my toe, they're going to, after the skin goes away. So I see myself as a skeleton, and that sort of helps me get grounded.
And it's helps me to reach that place of gratitude and to really appreciate who I am. Like, I am this body too. I am the skin. So if I'm going to say that I love myself or I prioritize myself, it's all of this. It's not just my heart. It's just not my spirit.
And not just your brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, now my job is to find you a boyfriend or girlfriend. Listen, let's not be heterosexist here. Who knows? The perfect
that's a whole another conversation that I'll put down for next time.
Okay. All right.
Lots of love to you, my dear Brian. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Hayley.
Bye.
Bye-bye.